Coming up this week in work.
Are exit interviews actually useless? One headhunter is calling them the cockroaches of the employment world.
Strong.
So if you want to know why people really left, when should you be asking them?
Yeah, and we all know the job market is tough right now, but what if there was an app that you were not only able to practice your interview technique, but also got real-time feedback on how you could do better? Oh, and what if it was filled with videos all designed to help you land your dream job? Well, I think I might have found it. More shortly.
And in Truth or Lie, should you hire for culture fit? Around 80% of employers say it's a top priority when choosing candidates. Do they actually predict whether someone will be good at the job? I've read the research and I've got a verdict.
And of course, in the workplace surgery, we've got 3 more questions. One of them is about enforcing a policy you don't believe in when you're caught in the middle of it. One listener is struggling with a 5-day return to office mandate and knows their team will too.
This is Truth, Lies and Work, the award-winning podcast where behavioural science meets workplace culture, brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals.
My name is Al, I'm a business owner, and I'm here to ask you the questions you might be afraid to.
And my name is Leanne, I'm a chartered occupational psychologist, and I'm here to answer them. And together, we help you simplify the science of work and build amazing workplace cultures.
Right back after a very quick word from our sponsors. Hello, welcome back. Lee, has it been a good week? What can we say?
It's only Tuesday and it's already been a really bad week.
Yeah, we'll not get too much into it because, I think our friends will know, and I know Jeremy will know because I told him I had to move his call today. But yes, so in short, in a few weeks' time, we might be coming to you from a different country. Who knows?
Yeah.
Here we go again. Anyway.
Here I go again on my own.
I don't know the second line to that. If I did, I'd try and do something clever around residency. But let's just say that if you do want to live in a particular Balkan country, then it's never simple. It's never simple.
No, sir.
What is simple, though, is you, Leanne. You're a very simple...
I'm a very simple person with very simple needs.
Well, I think one of your needs is to learn what's going on in the world of work. Is that the worst segue I've ever done?
No,
Perhaps?
I like it.
Yeah, you like it?
I like it. I think we can do that through the news roundup, Al. So why don't you do me a favour and cue that jingle?
Yes, all right, I'll press that button. Okay, Lee, by the way, I told you, haven't I? I found a new thing on my disco box on my Roadcaster.
Yeah, have you changed the music for the news roundup?
No, but at some point, listener, in the next few weeks, I'm going to surprise you with a cool new button that is a cool new thing. Lee, what have you seen this week, my love?
Are exit interviews the cockroaches of the employment world?
I mean, that's pretty strong.
It is pretty strong. It is. This guy, a headhunter called Nicholas... Oh man, I should have practiced this. Nicholas Corcodilos.
Can I have a guess at his where his name's from?
Yeah.
I would guess he's Greek.
Maybe, yeah, Corcodilos. Yeah, maybe. Well, if this was in ink, I think. I didn't actually write that down. I will leave a link, but I think it was in ink. And yeah, Nick was saying that he thinks exit interviews and the whole idea of them are the cockroaches of the unemployment world. He reckons nobody really knows why they exist. No one can quite justify them. And yet they never really seem to go away. I mean, in theory, exit interviews should give companies useful data, shouldn't they? It makes sense. So this is what is an exit interview?
I was just about to say, just in case someone's like, exit interview, what does it mean?
So exit interview is when an employee has resigned from the company and on their last day or a few days before they leave, you sit them down and basically try and find out why. Try and get some feedback in terms of the organisation. So yeah, basically why they're leaving, maybe what's broken, what needs fixing. And I think that telling the truth in a situation like that is quite difficult, isn't it? Because at that moment, those employees still need references. They don't want to burn any bridges. So instead of kind of going, oh, my manager's an absolute nightmare, actually, they're the reason I'm leaving, you know, they're probably just more likely to give safer, generic answers. I do run exit interviews with employees of my clients who leave. On the occasion they do, because my clients enjoy very high levels of retention. And even as a third party speaking to them, you know, you really need to dig around to find out something useful. And even then, say you did find a name. Say you did find out. What are you going to do with that? Because you need to hold confidentiality for that person. So if you're then going to the person that is the reason they're leaving, then that breaks it. So it's all just a bit complicated anyway. So Nick had an idea.
Right.
Instead of asking them on their way out the organisation, doing that exit interview then, what if you reach out to them directly 6 months later and ask them to go for lunch?
Oh, that's an idea.
So it's not a formal interview, it's more of a conversation 6 months on. His thought is the time will change dynamic. Thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree, because also, and the other thing I suppose is that in an exit interview, if it's like 3 or 4 days before you leave, you're already in the next job and you don't really want to be thinking about this job because you've already like mentally moved on. So asking someone to go, okay, how can we make it better? If it's one of those situations where someone is leaving because they hate a manager or they just don't like the organisation, like you said, you're not going to get honest answers. And even if you did, they're not going to be particularly helpful because this one person has decided this is not for them. The data doesn't seem, it's not a longitudinal study. It's not got lots and lots of data points. It's got one person's opinion who's probably a little bit narked off with you. Yeah,
as you say, they've already psychologically moved on, haven't they? So what's in it for them to really sit down and give you brutal feedback in that moment? But 6 months later, maybe they will. And this is what Nick's theory is. He reckons that a relaxed conversation over lunch will produce very different answers to a formal meeting in an HR room. And the advice is to treat it as a genuine conversation. He also thinks the second benefit is that by that stage, the former employee has seen another organisation so they can compare. So sometimes they'll confirm your issues. Sometimes they'll realise that things weren't actually as bad as they thought. So it kind of gives the feedback some more context.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I have questions around how you can reach out to somebody who's no longer in your organisation. I think maybe whether you ask permission of that beforehand, if that's going to be your policy.
I don't see that being a problem. I mean, there's a tiny little platform. It's in its infancy. It's called LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, I think you're going to have much more chance of somebody participating in that if you ask them as they left. Look, would you mind if we got in touch in 6 months' time and ask you some questions about your experiences?
Or maybe just
grab a hot dog.
Grab a hot dog. Where are you? New York City? Are you in Suits? Is this Harvey Specter's left for someone else?
Five Guys or something. You can get hot dogs in the UK.
What the hell's Five Guys?
The burger place.
Why is it called Five Guys?
Oh God, you're so old.
What's wrong with McDonald's? I bring back Wimpy, that's what I say. I loved Wimpy. Anyway, I think you could just solve that really simply, I think, just by saying, is it okay if we keep in touch? Yeah. Who's going to say no to that? Yeah, sure. And do you want me to send your email or should we connect on LinkedIn? Yeah, cool. Okay, that'd be great. By the way, this is our new business. This is what we're going to do. We are going to be the exit interview guys. We're going to get in touch with Nick. We'll pay him a commission for coming up with the idea. And we just go for lunch every day. And the company will pay for our lunch. Yeah. And we just do the exit interviews.
And we'll be like, unload. Who's the biggest arsehole in the organisation? Tell us everything. Tell us all. Spill the tea.
Oh, and you can make it fun because you could have all the managers in the organisation like a Guess Who board. You could say like, does she have curly hair?
Brilliant.
That would be quite funny. Guess Who needs to be something to do with the organisation.
Work edition.
Yeah, you need a work edition of Guess Who.
Yes, that would be brilliant.
I worked in this one company where everybody looked really strange and it genuinely looked like when you looked out, it looked like that it was a Guess Who board because it's like people with like big long heads and someone with a big beard down to their knees and stuff. And and then there was moustache and
yeah. Who's the dude that looked like an egg?
Oh, Bernard. Bernard
with a ginger beard.
No, Bernard had it begins with E. Bernard had a hat. This might be an Eric. Eric looked like an egg, I believe. God,
and you always hope that the other person had pulled out a woman.
Yes.
Because all inequality, there was only like 4 women in Guess Who.
That's where underrepresentation actually helps.
Exactly.
Anyway, moving on, Lee.
What have you seen, love?
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about something I teased in the intro. There's a platform called How To Job. The name How To Job, job has now seemed to have become like a verb. We job. I job, you job, he jobs, she jobs. Look at me conjugating the word, the fictional verb
Spanish.
Job. Soy, what's job in Spanish? I should know that.
Oh, I'm thinking of work. Trabajo is work. What is it?
Well, while Leanne's Googling that, I will tell you. So basically, it's called How To Job. And it's been introduced by a guy called Milo Seville. I'm sorry I'm saying that surname wrong. Basically, he has got 15 years in HR and talent, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He looked at the job market and was like, it is a bit, this is not his words, these are my words, it's a bit shit at the moment. And so he said, right, let's just do something really simple. Let's stop guessing what employers actually want and actually help or coach people through the entire process. So he does things like CV overhauls, LinkedIn optimization, personalized outreach strategy. This is what's really interesting. When you log into How to Job, it's like Netflix. It's got like one big video at the front playing and you can unmute it, and then you can just scroll through like shelves of other videos and he'll say things like, and he's got loads of techniques. So it'll be, I can't remember, he's got the 4 horsemen of something, I think. I can't remember, I should have written this down.
Of the apocalypse?
No, but it's like 4 horsemen of the career eclipse or something. And basically he's got loads of different cool ways of getting a job. So he talks about, rather than just applying for a job, you go and find the chief executive officer or the chief operations officer and you make friends with them, you take them out for lunch, and it doesn't really say that, but it's that sort of like really cool things. There are loads and loads of brilliant success stories on there as well. One student apparently got 5 offers in just over a month, and another landed a job at the London Stock Exchange. Very, very fancy. Nice. Now, if it was just that, you'd be like, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But there's also something called Interviewly. Now, what I don't know is whether that's like an extra payment for it or not.
It's called Interviewly, or it's called Interview.
Oh, I never thought. It's called Interviewly.
Interviewly.
Yes, okay. Interviewly. And basically what it'll do is you open it up and it says, right, what job position are you going for? What company are you going for? Yeah. And then it will create this sort of simulated job application process. Mm-hmm. You can record into it your response. So it'll say, ask you a question. You record your response. You get up to 3 attempts to record your response. You can listen back, choose a favorite one, submit it. You go through, and these questions aren't just like, tell us about your life. These are genuine questions that will probably be asked in that sort of interview.
How do they know?
How does he know? I don't know, because he's got 15 years in talent, and he's a clever fella. So anyway, so the point is, at the end of it,
Kookaburra.
Clever kookaburra.
Side note, and I had this thing about 3 weeks ago. I think towards the end of the week, we start to run out of things to talk about, so it all gets a bit unhinged. We were talking about how, like, what if, like, the way you describe somebody had to be bird related. Yep. So you pesky little partridge.
Oh, you dirty little duck.
Dirty duck was one of the good ones. What was the other one? Grumpy goose.
Grumpy goose was a great one.
Yeah, a curious kookaburra. Is that what I just said?
Yeah, I think so. We had one for starling, or swallow, but that's probably a bit. Maybe not. Maybe not go for that one. Can I get back to How to Job? Anyway, so you've done your little mock interview, and at the end it'll come back and say, right, you answered this pretty well. This wasn't so good. Here's some tips for it. Thought really, really cool. Anyway, Lee, thoughts?
Yeah, nice. I think anything that helps people get more comfortable talking about themselves and answering questions. I think there's lots of people who will read through their notes and maybe even write out an answer to a question, but to actually speak it out loud and feel comfortable with it is really useful practice. I think it also sounds as though it's very much helping you understand recruitment processes, what they look like, what competencies they might be questioning. Love the use of AI. I'm guessing it uses AI.
I'm guessing.
What doesn't these days?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I like the sound of it. I think it sounds very, very cool. I'd like to poke around.
Yeah. Yeah. Clever. So Milo, you're a clever little cuckoo. That's what you are.
Kookaburra.
No, I prefer cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
No, it's indigenous to the UK.
Crazy cuckoo.
Yeah, creative little cuckoo. So How to Job.
Link is it indigenous to the UK?
Cuckoo?
Yeah.
Well, isn't it weird with a cuckoo? They're not really indigenous, even though they are indigenous, because they basically go, well, I'm going to live here now. So a cuckoo will knock something out of a nest, won't it? So basically, a cuckoo is probably more like a digital nomad of the bird world, where it'll go, this is where I'm staying now. Yeah. But a bully digital nomad.
Oh, we don't like bullies.
No, and in fact, to be fair, in history, there's quite a lot of, we're not going to go into it, but there's quite a lot of countries where we've gone, we might just cuckoo our way into the next country, like in 1939. So maybe we just move away from that subject entirely.
Well, we didn't.
Well, the UK is worse for cuckooing.
Not during the Second World War.
No, but every other, during the last 2000, there's probably not a country on earth we've not just rocked up and gone, hey guys, like what you've done here.
Do you have a flag?
I like what you've done here, but do you know what would make it even better? Is if we ran this shit. That's how we're going to do it. So
please, nobody ever take that quote from Al out of context, because we will never be able to live in another country other than the UK ever again.
We would be able to live in the UK. We're barred. We just have to.
No, we wouldn't. No, the UK is a strange place right now. It'd be fine.
Anyway, Lee, what else have you seen?
I am wondering, Al, whether older workers are being overlooked.
Right. How about? Do you know it'd be really funny if you said, "I wonder if shorter workers are being overlooked." Okay, older workers are being overlooked. It's just ageism, pure and simple.
Yes, at its extreme, yes. I also think I hear a lot of people talking about, there's soon going to be 6 generations in the workplace, like it's something to manage and not like it's something that could be useful or could be leveraged necessarily. Luckily, though, some other psychologists did think that maybe this is a better question to ask if it could be useful. I saw this in the Jupe. Do you remember what the Jupe
Journal
is?
of Organizational Psychology.
Journal of Occupational and Organisational Psychology. The Jupe.
I'm sure there's a perfume called Jupe or something.
Yeah, there is. It's aftershave, isn't it? Anyway, so what they did, they wanted to look at if there was any actual benefit for both parties when older and younger employees worked together. Mm-hmm. So to test this, they did 2 experiments. First, they paired up 142 older and younger employees and looked at how they interacted, how much they shared knowledge, and how employable older workers felt. Then they followed it up with a larger survey of 385 older workers across different industries to see the same pattern held over time. Mm-hmm. Very classic methodology, this.
Yes, I feel like I'm aware of methodologies after you explain them.
Indeed. Yep. What they found is that the more contact the more contact there was between generations. Honestly, I've had a really bad week.
I think that's the least of your problems, whether it's a was or were.
Yeah. The more contact there was between generations, the more employable older workers felt. And not just in terms of confidence, but things like saying they felt more relevant, they felt more adaptable, they felt more capable in their role. And it wasn't just about working together, it's what actually happened when people interact. So they need to they can't just sit next to each other. Do you know what I mean? They need to be having some kind of interaction. Because you can't just say we're going to have a team with a boomer, an Xer, a millennial and a Gen Z and they shall create diversity in its nature. They have to actually interact. So you might have to want to encourage some of that interaction at times because that's where it's valuable. Apparently the environment matters as well. So the study talked about something called intergenerational climate, which is basically whether your workplace feels open across age groups or whether there is a bit of a divide. So in places where that climate is positive, unsurprisingly, everything works better. People share more, they ask more, they collaborate more. Where it's not, people hold back. And older workers reported stopping asking for help.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah, and then younger workers reported knowledge sharing reducing. Mm-hmm. And so does the sense for older workers of staying relevant. So if you are leading a multi-generational team, you really want to encourage this mutual collaboration and learning. Because from an older worker's perspective, what they started to also report in the worst of scenarios where the kind of intergenerational climate was poor, was that they start to feel very, very isolated. And we already know that loneliness in workplace is already a bit of a problem and has been for some while. So yeah, what do you think of that one, Al?
Well, it makes perfect sense. And I think that, if you went back 20 years, then yes, there'd be like, the old farts are in the corner and they're just typing and they're writing out in their double entry bookkeeping system. And then the young kids are all on the computers and stuff. I think it has changed massively now. And I think also, do you know what, weirdly, I think TikTok and Instagram has actually helped quite a lot with that, because I know that there's a guy, and I'm sure, listener, you're going to know who I'm talking about and saying, ain't no way.
I love that guy.
Yeah, and he's not 40 anymore. He's probably pushing 50. But the fact is that he comes on and his story is, his hook line is, you're telling me that I can do this thing really simply, and I'm 40 years old and I didn't know this. So I think that there's that. There's also a lot more older people who are on TikTok who are just talking about work, talking about anything really, that just younger people are perhaps listening to and going, they actually do know. They're not ancient. They do actually know a little bit of something. There's that woman red-haired woman from Cambridge University. I forget her name. You know her, you love her. And I'm not saying she's by any stretch old, but
I don't think she's that old, is she?
But she's not like 19, and she gets so many views. And I think what's really cool about that
Hannah
is
Fry.
Oh,
she's my age.
There we go. So
a little bit older, February 1984.
So she's an ancient geriatric
she's
millennial.
42, yeah.
There you go. And I just think that then you've got someone who's maybe 15, 16 going, this is pretty cool. She's pretty cool. So I do think that social media is helping a little bit that way. But then maybe it's not always, I don't know. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
Was that just like a real old person just going, oh, well, it's all down to social media, you know?
No, I think you're right. There does seem to be a bit more respect and appreciation in pockets of the internet, doesn't there? In others, I think it's also just very divisive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the point is, all of these generations into the workplace, it's less about kind of, I guess the assumption and the narrative we're getting is that it's going to be difficult and it's going to be hard. It's like, oh, we're going to have to manage 6 generations in the workplace. It's like, well, how can we get excited about this? How can we put people together in teams with certain tasks or projects where we're going to start to see these wonderful things happen, this kind of skill development for the older person and knowledge and wisdom from, the younger person getting knowledge and wisdom from an older person. So I'm all for it. I like it. I will leave a link in the show notes.
Yeah, and obviously you need an organisation where you've got psychological safety, where people can feel like they can ask for help. And did we not do an article last week or week before about something about asking for help actually makes a workplace nicer or something? Maybe I dreamt that. Talking of dreaming things, we've got a very short break, and then after that we are talking about culture. Now, this is our truth or lie. This is where I'm going to say, Leanne, I've heard this. Is it true? And she's going to tell us whether it's true or not. We're talking about culture fit after the break, so we'll see you in a second. Welcome back. This is Truth or Lie. We're probably about 4 months into this now, aren't we? It's Truth or Lie, maybe even a bit longer.
I have no idea.
I'm really enjoying it. I really, really like it. So, and I like it because I basically go, Leanne, is this true? And then I just go and have a cup of tea. And then you sit there and you make all your notes and do your research and all that clever stuff. Today's claim, Leanne, is it true? Should you hire for culture fit? Now, to be fair, I know that just anecdotally, that is one of the most common used criteria in hiring. There are so many people I speak to who say, yeah, they weren't just weren't quite a culture fit. Looking at the note you've given me here, it says apparently 80% of employers say it's a top priority when selecting candidates. The idea is really simple. Find someone whose values and ways of working match the organisation, and everything else should follow. Lee, though, does the evidence actually support this? Should you hire for culture fit? Is that true or a lie?
I sometimes wonder I drag out the answer. Do you want me to just tell you the verdict now? Just cut to the chase.
Do you know what? Yeah. If you're listener, we're going to ask Leanne to say it's truth or lie and then go and tell us the reasons why.
Yeah.
Tell us whether you prefer this or you prefer the suspense.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it true or is it a lie?
It's a lie.
So you should not be hiring for culture?
No. So
should we go for, normally you do the case for hiring for culture and then you do against. Is that fair to stick to that?
Yeah.
So what's the case for hiring for culture?
So I think a lot of this stems in where it comes from, right? So it kind of has its roots in terms of research in the 1980s, late 1980s, and specifically a theory from a psychologist called Jennifer Chapman. And she looked into person-organization fit and developed this model. That was kind of picked up by tech companies like your Apples, your Googles, all that type of thing in the 90s and noughties, and became really popular as a hiring strategy. Because it was also quite visual, wasn't it, culture at that point? Because they had these big complexes like the Googleplex, whatever it's called. What's it called?
Yeah, I think it is called.
Is it called the Googleplex?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, there you go. So it became something that people could see, and when you can see it and somebody cool is doing it and it sounds cool, you want to do it yourself. So yeah, by the 2010s, some studies have suggested up to 84% of hiring managers have used it as a key factor in selection.
Okay. Huge.
So the idea basically is if you find somebody whose values, personality and ways of working align with the organisation, then they'll slot in more smoothly, work better with colleagues, and they'll be more likely to stay. But in practice, it can often come down to something far more subjective. And what has also been kind of reported is the airport test when talking about culture fit. Have you heard about this?
No.
So basically, would you want to be stuck in an airport with this person? If the answer is yes, then they're a fit. If they don't, then they're not.
Oh, so this is like, so instead of going, we're hiring for culture, what really is people are doing and going, do I like this person? Will I spend time with them?
Exactly.
If it's a yes, then go, oh, miraculously, they seem to match with our culture. If it's a no, they're like, no, they're an idiot. I don't want to spend any time with them.
Yeah, people are unfairly associating culture fit with likability.
Got it.
And usually we like people who are very similar to us.
Which does not make a good organisation.
No, it does not. But there is actually some genuine evidence that culture fit matters.
Okay.
It's just about how it matters. The strongest evidence comes from a 2005 meta-analysis. What's a meta-analysis, Al?
Oh, no, I knew you were going to ask me this. I think it's when there are they analyse multiple research projects and put them together as one mega research
sample. Exactly. So this meta-analysis looked at 172 studies that measured 836 relationships between culture fit and an outcome. So like job satisfaction, organizational commitment, performance. What it found was that when employees feel aligned with the organization's values, they are significantly more satisfied with their jobs. They are more committed to the organization and they are less likely to leave. So in terms of culture fit, it's really important for being happy at work, being committed to my organization and not wanting to quit. Yeah. The correlation was fairly chunky. So when we say correlation, that's kind of the strength and direction of relationship between two things. So this research looked at organizational fit and job satisfaction and found that it had a correlation of 0.44. Cool fact, if you square root a correlation, it gives you a predicted percentage.
What?
I know.
Hang
Maths,
on,
man.
I have to do. Right, keep talking. I'm going to square root this.
Square root 0.44.
0.44 square root. Where is it on my calculator? I have to turn it aside. Oh man, I can't find my. You carry on talking.
Why just do 0.44 times 0.44?
Because that would be squaring it, not square rooting it.
Sorry, square it, not square root.
Oh,
square it.
Oh, right, times 0.44. That gives me 0.1936. So is that 19%?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
So organizational fit accounts for around 19% of what determines how satisfied employees feel at work.
Oh, now that's a cool. Right, okay, if you've listened this far listening, you've just got yourself a cool little fact. I love this. I'm going to be doing this all the time.
Yeah. Do you want to do another one? The correlation for organizational commitment was 0.51.
So 0.51 times 0.51. So it's got 20, so it accounts for 26% of.
Yeah. Around 26% of what determines how committed employees feel to the organizations. Yeah, it's kind of cool, isn't it? So culture fit is important for how people think and feel in our business. It absolutely is. It also influences how people potentially will select themselves or put themselves forward for roles. So a 2010 study looked at 256 undergraduate students and evaluated recruitment materials. They had to basically, two hypothetical companies, what do we think of this company? One was with a competitive high salary culture. One was with a supportive lower salary culture. The majority of both men and women, so 60% of men and 74% of women, preferred the supportive organisation even at lower pay.
Really?
Yeah, so culture, in other words, is a recruiting tool before it's a selection criterion.
So, criterion.
Thank you. You said criterion before. I was like, well, I remember that one.
So, culture fit might predict quite well whether someone's going to stay or whether someone's going to be satisfied with their job, which is only half of the equation, because if they stay and they're satisfied with it, but they're rubbish at it, or they're just not contributing much. Okay.
How many clients have we worked with, though, that have said, oh, they're brilliant, they're so lovely, but they're just not quite right for the job. They're not quite at the level I want them to be, but they're lovely and, you know, they're so committed to the organisation. That's what we're seeing there. That probably more than likely someone has been recruited because they seem like a good culture fit. Their values are very aligned and they're happy in their job and they ain't going anywhere, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're very good at it. Excellent.
Okay, so that's the case 4, which is not shaky, but it's not conclusive by any stretch.
Yeah. So in terms of where it starts to get a bit uncomfortable for culture fit, the meta-analysis we talked about, the same one, they found that culture fit, as we've just been saying, predicts satisfaction and commitment. That same study looked at whether it predicted job performance.
Yeah.
The correlation there was 0.07.
Oh, okay, I can do this. So it's 0.07 times 0.07. Oh, that's like 0.5%.
Yeah, it's less than 1%. So culture fit accounts for less than 1% of what determines whether someone will perform well in their role.
Interesting.
So as typically assessed, it tells you almost nothing about whether somebody's going to be very good at their job or not. To put that into perspective, there is other research that's been done to look at different hiring methods and how predictive they are of work performance, because that's what we're trying to do in a selection process, isn't it? We're trying to predict how well this person will perform in said job in the future. So culture fit, we know, is a fairly low score, less than 1%. By comparison, structured interviews, Al, have a correlation of 0.58. Do you want to do your trick again?
Oh, 0.58. Okay, no worries. So 0.58 times 0.58. Oh, 33%.
So structured interviews where every candidate is asked the same questions in the same order accounts for 34% of performance it predicts. Cognitive ability, so that's things like your IQ tests, those types of assessments, has a score of 0.65.
I'm going to mentally, it's going to be around about 44%.
42%.
Right, yep.
42%. So 1% culture fit. Whereas if you're using structured interviews, that's around 34%. Cognitive ability, around 42%. Personality isn't great. It's usually around 10%. Work sample tests, off the top of my head, I think are around 20-odd%. But the idea is if you're using a mixed method process to, assess?
Yeah, to assess.
To assess these competencies, and you're using different methods. So you're using cognitive ability, you're using a structured interview, and you're using a work sample test. What we know in the literature is when you actually add them on, their predictive validity goes up.
Right.
So when you combine methods, they're even more predictive of future job performance. Stronger together and all that.
Love it.
But basically culture fit isn't very useful. I've got loads of other ones, to be honest, but I think probably the main research to share with you is a study from 2023, so pretty recent. We like recent studies, Al, as psychologists. Makes us feel better. What they found is that culture fit is typically used at 3 different points of the recruitment process. It was used to brief recruiters on candidates on what they're looking for. It was used during the recruitment phase, and it was used as a final selection. And what they found is at each stage, it allowed bias to operate without any type of challenge. So what we were saying before in terms of people liking people who have liked themselves, that was happening throughout the process. So recruitment consultants described employees as using culture fit to justify excluding other candidates, whether they were pregnant, whether they were visible religious or cultural markers. Basically, one recruiter described it as an unchallenged excuse.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't formalized, it wasn't really explained. It was just that person wasn't the right culture fit. I think I heard somebody else describe it as like culture fit is just like a really good marketing spin for discrimination.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And would you say that culture fit is also like a vibe check? Is that the sort of like the cool name for culture?
Yes, vibe check. Yeah. Vibes-based hiring.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah. So is it truth or is it a lie? You already know, but it's a lie. Culture fit in hiring processes, the way most organizations do it, does not predict whether somebody will be good in the job. And that's the entire point of a recruitment process. And actually, if you're not running a recruitment process that is based on some type of evidence of what you're asking people is going to help you predict future job performance, that could even fall into unlawful hiring practices, because inevitably then your recruitment process is bias. So it's a really bad idea, actually. What it can be useful for is a little bonus tick. Because if you use lots of different ways to figure out if somebody's going to be good at their future job and they align with the values of your company, you know they're going to be really good at their job, they're going to be really committed, they're going to really enjoy it, and they're less likely to leave your organization. So yeah, it's almost like that extra bit of stickiness, but you need to be very, very careful that you don't make some mistakes there, bring wrong people into your business, cost you a lot of money, and it might not even be lawful.
Okay, so it does have its place. It's just little sugar to add on top rather than anything.
I mean, I think actually, I can't remember the exact number, but I think handwriting analysis used to be used in recruitment processes.
Right.
And that was,
I think it's called.
Yeah, graphology. And that was predictive of about 5% of future job performance.
Oh, really? So more than
culture
5 times
fit.
more than culture
So you're
fit.
better just asking for a sample of somebody's handwriting.
Good luck doing that. When was the last time you wrote something by hand? I don't remember. Anyway, thank you for that. If you have your own truth or lie, then get in touch with us. We have got a few coming up, as Leanne alluded to last week. We've got, I think we've got 3 psychologists are coming in to do a little segment. We will tell you more about that in the next coming up weeks. If you are a psychologist and a proper psychologist, not just someone who's decided they're a psychologist, proper psychologist, and you want to come in and do this, let us know. The links are in the show notes. Okay, so I think it is time for the world famous weekly workplace surgery where I put your questions to Leanne. I have 3, Leanne. Question number 1 is about enforcing a policy they don't particularly believe in. So this person says, my company has announced a full return to the office 5 days a week. I don't think it's the right decision, and I know my team feel the same. However, I'm the one who has to implement it. Oh my God, this is tough. I'm the one getting the questions, and people are asking me directly if I think it's fair, which I don't. Now, I don't want to be dishonest, but I also don't want to put a target on my back by pushing a bit too hard. How do you handle this without being caught in the middle? This sounds a bit like I know Liz Truss wasn't our best prime minister, but at the same time, I think it was like, didn't she vote against Brexit and then had to push it through, or there was someone who did that?
Not Liz Truss.
Was it not?
It was the other one. Liz Truss was the one that a lettuce outlived her, wasn't it? What's her name? May.
Theresa May.
There you go. We've had so many in the last few years, just can't keep up with them all.
Anyway, we're not talking about Theresa May. We're talking about this person who has to push through an RTO mandate and they don't think it's a good idea. Lee, thoughts?
Tricky, isn't it? I think...
Tricky little turkey.
Tricky little turkey.
I put you off there, didn't I? Sorry.
You did. I was gonna go with something else, but I'm glad you saved it with turkey.
Okay, moving on.
It's a bird. I think the first thing to do is go and take all your questions, and if you don't know them, just say, I will leave that question with me, go and speak to HR or leadership team or whoever it is that's put this policy in place and go, look, I know you don't need to give us a reason because anybody who is doing this type of mandate, I'm not guessing they're really going to be a fan of employee consultation,
yes.
You know? So kind of go, look, I know you don't need to give us any reasons why, but these are the type of questions that I'm getting asked, and I think it'd be actually really useful to know why, as an organisation, we've made this decision, whether it be down to whatever bullshit stories you want to tell me about collaboration or creativity or whatever else, but whatever the official line is as to why we're coming back into the office 5 days a week. Take that back to your team. The thing is that people are going to be freaking out about the flexible work that they've lost, rather than necessarily being brought back into the office. There may be some reasons. There may be some financial considerations. It may be that some people have moved since, you've been remote, or, have commuting costs have gone up significantly. So there could be some real worry points as to why people are pushing up against this, but one of the main ones is going to be around flexible working. Flexible working has kind of been a right for UK employees for a couple of years now. I think it was like April 24 that this came in, and this is a HR policy that you're going to be able to lean on to help people with this adjustment. So employees can request flexible working. They can do it from the first day of their employment. Those requests, I think you can put up to 2 requests in a 12-month period. Employers have to take it seriously. They have to consult with the employer. They have to give an answer. I think it's within 2 or 3 months of the request. And if it is refused, employers can only refuse for very specific business reasons, such as additional costs or an inability to organise work or a detrimental impact on performance. It's unlikely that they're going to be able to do that if you've had an element of remote working already. So it's things like, if somebody wants some flexibility around start and finish time because of childcare, that might be a reason that somebody can put in a request for flexible work, and the company would have to work really hard to find a reason as to not, seeing as you've been working remotely already. So I think that's the other thing that you can do is as you talk to your employees, and it might just be, it might just be the change that people are annoyed with. And actually when you dig into it, the only reason is that they just prefer working remotely rather than they have a really specific reason as to why this is now detrimental. For those employees where there is a very specific reason, then you can lean on this kind of flexible work policy in the UK. If you're elsewhere, then...
Good luck to you and Godspeed.
Sorry, I just assumed you're in the UK. Yeah.
God, that was a bit racist of you, wasn't it? I assume you're British.
Because that's where most of our letters come from.
Good point. Okay, thanks for that, Leanne. Okay, so question number 2 is all about being complicit for staying. So, hi, Al and Leanne. My employer treats me really well. I'm paid fairly. I've got flexibility and I feel supported. But I've seen colleagues treated very differently. They've been managed out, spoken to badly, or overlooked in ways that just don't happen to me. I can't quite tell if it's bias, favoritism, or just inconsistent. It's left me feeling conflicted. Like, I like my job and I need the income, but part of me feels uncomfortable staying when others aren't being treated the same. Lee, this is a tough one. This person, they're saying, am I complicit just by being there? I'm guessing by complicit. I've come across that word. I think, does it mean, am I basically just joining in by just saying, be keeping quiet?
Yeah.
It's a tough one, though.
It is a tough one. I mean, I think ultimately, given the current job market, given the economy, given the state that the world is on fire, it's very, very understandable that you need a job and you need an income right now. So I wouldn't feel too guilty in the short term about that, because that is just what you need to do to survive, to support you and your family. Survival, in these times comes very high up on the list, doesn't it? I mean, there's different things you can do. I think it's how much you want to engage with this. You could try and challenge it. You could see what your company's whistleblowing process is if you think this is falling into bullying and harassment or discrimination in an obvious way. You could, try and have, if you've got relationships with these managers, try and have a conversation with them, try and have a conversation with someone in HR about what you're seeing. It all going to come down to the type of organisation you're in terms of the psychological safety you have by raising concerns like this and not then having negative repercussions on you. It sounds as though maybe, given this situation, psychological safety won't be very high in the organisation. So that's going to come down to how much do you trust your HR team, if you have one internally, or how, what type of relationship you have with your manager. That's kind of your only option, really, is do nothing or flag it. And by flagging it, you are potentially putting yourself in a risky situation. On an individual level, I think what you'll start to find over time is that having these mismatched values, having this dissonance in terms of how you believe people should be treated and how you're seeing them being treated, that's going to start to cause some tension. I have seen it called moral burnout in the literature, where it isn't necessarily about workload necessarily, but it's about the environment that you're in, and that dissonance, that mismatch can over time have a very detrimental impact on your health in the same way burnout does. So you'll start to detach from your work. You'll start to get very cynical. You'll start to get physically and emotionally exhausted. So from an individual perspective, if you do nothing, or say you do something and nothing changes, long term, this is going to be a really difficult environment for you to stay in. So that might mean that you need to start looking around out there at other, jobs, other organizations. Yeah, I think I'm not sure there's much advice else I can give you other than you speak up if you feel safe. And if you don't, just know that this is going to have to be a short-term role for you, even though you do need the income, because over time it is going to start to have a really negative effect.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I have a feeling the person who wrote this probably already knows those are their choices, but it's good to hear it from a proper psychologist and go, look, that is really all you can do. Sounds like it's not a long-term position for you, because, let's be honest, it sounds a bit shit, doesn't it? Anyway. Okay, question number 3, and I find one, Leanne. How do you scale culture without losing it? So this person writes, we've grown really quickly from 8 to 35 people in about 18 months. Wow. And I can already feel the culture starting to slip. Yes, I bet you can. When it was a small team, things were simple. There was trust, speed, openness. Now the new people don't seem to feel it the same way, and some of the original team are getting frustrated. The truth is, I used to be the culture. I'm guessing this is the founder writing here. But now I'm so busy running the business, I can't be everywhere. So how do we make that shift from culture being me to culture working without me? That sounds like, go on, Lee. Good luck doing that in about 4 minutes.
Okay, so how do you scale culture without losing it? You don't. You can't. because the culture that you need as a scrappy startup of 8 people is very different to the culture you're going to need as an organisation of 35. And culture really is often a reflection of what you need the organisation to be doing at that point in time. Culture is very much aligned to strategy. Is it all about growth? So what behaviours do we need to see to grow the organisation? Is it about more about innovation? Is it more about stability? Because culture is just behaviours, the behaviours of you and your team within the business. So depending on what your strategy of your organisation is, you're going to have to evolve and flex your culture. So you can't scale culture without losing it, nor should you. The second thing, you are not the culture, my friend. I know what you mean. You're the kind of that centre focal point. You have the vision. It's your business. You're, pulling it up by its bootstraps. Is that what people used to say?
Yeah.
So I know it can feel like you're the culture and you used to be centre of this and leading this. And I guess the only truth of that might be that you would be moderating behaviours by encouraging behaviours that you felt were necessary in the organisation, discouraging those that you didn't want to be seeing. You were actively policing behaviours. That was probably your role.
Sorry, that surprise, I dropped my pencil.
So the fact that you're now not able to do that, then you have to ask, how can your team moderate these behaviours, and how much do they believe that these behaviours are what are needed for their role, the success of their role and the success of the business? That is something we could talk about for probably an hour. So if that is the case, jump on the show notes. You'll see my link in there, book a meeting and we will chat. My initial thought is that right now, this isn't a culture problem. This is an operational problem. This is a structure problem. Because going from 8 to 35 in 18 months is probably going to mean you've got lots of clunky processes. Things are a bit maybe long-winded or a bit broken. There's a lack of understanding, a lack of transparency. Do you have a very clear onboarding process? Do people learn the same things when they come into the organisation? Is that why some of the original team members are frustrated? Because there isn't a formal onboarding and people know different things. So my thought is that really this is about looking at what we call the psychosocial risk factors. You've heard me talk about those before. Things like, you flag trust as being an issue there. So what's happening with relationships and where is trust feeling down? How is this change being managed in terms of maturing your processes, bringing new people into the business? How is that impacting on people? Role clarity. Does everyone know what they're doing? These 8 people, I'd imagine their role has changed quite significantly in the last 8 months. Do they still understand what it is that they should be doing, what their priorities are and why? I think there's probably a fair bit of lack of understanding about people's roles and responsibilities, understandably, because you've gone through a very quick change. So my thought would be to start with something like that. HSE Management Standards is a free tool that you can use. You can also use the ARC7, which is our tool at Oblong, just to give you an idea of where things are breaking. And my feeling is it's going to be a little bit relational. Of course it is, because you've got, new people coming into a business and that can feel quite us and them in those initial stages of growth. I think a lot of that's going to be solved by improving structural process, operational processes, working on that task cohesion. And then I think once you've kind of got all of that right, because that's easier to fix, then you can start looking at, do we need to revisit our values and the mission of our organisation and the behaviours that underpin those values that are going to help us succeed? Because then once you've got clarity over the values and the behaviours associated with them, you can start to look at ways to police them in real time. And that's going to be basically the team agreeing, whether it be through a team charter or a leadership charter, that this is what the organisation needs right now. So different things you can do, but I think I'd start with the relatively simple fixes first.
Yeah, excellent advice. I would also say to you, as someone who has founded companies and grown quite quickly, is that imagine you're building a house, all right? So you're building your dream house, and you have the house is the company and the garden is your culture. If you're doing it fast, you're going to have people trampling all over your flowers, bringing furniture in. You're going to have loads of rubbish being pulled out and thrown onto your cabbages you've been carefully cultivating. This is a very strange analogy.
I like it.
Yeah. So, but if you're doing it fast, you are going to break things. So what you don't want to be doing is going, I want to build a house fast and also keep the garden looking beautiful and keep adding to it. No, the garden's going to get wrecked to a certain extent because it's going fast. Same with your culture. So I think, yes, of course, it's great that you want to think about your culture at this point. But if you are growing so fast, the culture might change in 90 days. It might be a totally different culture.
Yeah.
So don't worry too much about your flowers when you're building your house fast, so that and growing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That analogy did well up until the end.
Yeah. It's just that last line,
bit.
I think, is a bit better. But I liked in that analogy. I enjoyed that one.
Thank you very much. Okay, I tell you what else you'll enjoy, Leanne. On Thursday, we are joined, you know all this anyway, but you were joined by Kate Young, who's the head of people science at Sapir.ai. Sapir are doing some really, really cool work with AI in hiring. Not that kind of bad stuff you're doing in hiring, the good stuff. They're helping companies like Costa and BT and Holland and Barrett, and they make their recruitment fairer and a lot more human. That is something you need to tune in for, because how can you use AI to make it more human? Well, Kate knows exactly how to do that. She's bringing behavioural science into these systems and how they're built and used. We're going to get into all kinds of things. Well, we won't, because it's Leanne interviewed her, but we'll get into job analysis, why most companies get it wrong, and how AI might actually have the solution.
Yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. I learned a lot.
Yes.
A lot from Kate. So definitely tune into that. If you're having any issues with your hiring processes right now, if you're still thinking culture fit is the way to go, definitely tune in on Thursday, yes. So we'll be back on Thursday unless Claude has released a new podcasting thing between now and then, which basically makes all podcasts obsolete, which, let's be honest, might happen any day now. Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.